In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how I made this round ball. In this method, there are no jigs used to make the ball. There is nothing new about this method. I learned this method over 45 years ago as a wood pattern maker. I used this method to round the larger corner radiuses on the wood patterns that I made, usually using a spoke shave. It also works great for making a round ball like this. The turning portion in this video is going to be less than the explaining portion. There really is very little turning involved in making a ball. So let's get started. Alright, first thing we need to do is get this round. At about 930 RPMs. Flat spot in there, but I think it's still a little bigger than what I want to do. Let's shoot for 5 inches. I'll set a pair of calipers up and show you how I establish a diameter. Alright, we'll just keep this view just for a little while. I think you'll be able to see what's going on. But I have these calipers here set at a 5-inch diameter. I'm going to use my parting tool. And I'm going to just start in the middle. And once I have a groove in there, and get that tool in it, that just goes through, and from experience I can tell you it's big. In order to be right on, it would fall through, but that little bit, while it's spinning, it will pull it through. But I'm going to leave it right there. That's the way I like to do it. Calipers are set right on, and I know I'm a little big there. I'll do another groove here. Find that groove. Next thing I do is I'll take a pencil and I'll mark those lines down in there. So you just do not remove the pencil lines. Remove everything else, join it between the pencil lines, and you'll have a cylinder. So I'm going to mark the lines a little bit more now that I can see them better. What I'm going to use is this. It's a scraper basically. It's made out of stellite that I made many moons ago. It really works good for blending between these lines when you're doing something straight. I don't know if you can see that, but that is flat. So now we have a nice cylinder. Wow, I got lucky. So I can put the center anywhere I want now. And why not put it about in the middle? So this is almost 6. I'm going to slide it the difference down here and mark it on 3. We'll put a nice pencil line there. Alright, we have a 5-inch diameter. We need to have this piece 5 inches long. So we'll mark that. We'll go to the center and we'll come back 2.5 inches. We'll get a mark there. I'll verify that that is indeed 5 inches. I'm going to establish that end using my parting tool. So I'm going to show you how to lay an octagon out on the cylinder that we just made. Well, that cylinder is extra long, but we know that cylinder needs to be 5 inches. That's to this line here. So we know across there, in order for it to be round, this dimension has to be the same as across this way. So we know that that's 5 inches because that's the diameter. To get the chord length of that octagon right here, you simply use a number that's consistent no matter what diameter you have, and that is 0.414 times the diameter will give you this length, no matter what the diameter is. In this case, it's 2.07. So I have that marked here. So there's the length of that chord. Well, I need 8 of those coming around here, so it'll be a 45-degree angle. If I subtract that 2.07 from 5 and then divide that number in half, it gives me the length to here. That is 1.46. Well, going down this way, this is also 2.07. Octagons have equal legs, so that's 2.07. And so if this is 1.46 from that edge to the beginning of the 45, it's also 1.46 from here back up to there. So now we have a 45-degree angle. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is mark the diameter, and now I'm going to cut this down on the end. I'm going to cut it straight down, make sure I maintain the 5 inches. We will now have a corner here that we can turn down to that intersection, and it'll just be a little, like a little tenon sticking out on there. So we're going to do that first. When that's on there, I'll show you how to lay out the 22.5-degree angle. Once you've done that, you can see that those corners are gone and you almost have a round. So let's go ahead and cut that 45. Well, we'll mark it on here, we'll cut the 45. So I fine-tuned this right to be right on 5 inches. It's about maybe 5/1000ths over, but I'm okay with that. I'm taking a square, and I'm going to make sure that that's square, because where this line comes down here and I intersect, we're assuming that this is a square line. So make it as close as you can. And so now I'm going to set this for the 1.446 right there. And then I'll get a pencil line here. Always double check. There it is, right at where I need it to be. I now know that all I have to do is cut a flat between these 2 points, and I'll have a 45-degree surface that's tangent to a 5-inch ball. So let's cut that down. That looks pretty straight. Let's go ahead and check it. It's pretty good. There's just a little crown in it. Not too bad. The closer you can get these, the easier it is when we actually get to making this a perfect ball. I'm just going to shear scrape across this, take that high spot off, and blend it in. That looks pretty good to me. Yeah, nice and flat. Okay, that's how we get the 45. You can see the pencil line down there. I'll set this one up, I'll cut that, and then we'll talk about what we do here. So let me do this and I'll be back soon. Alright, I've got the 45 on both sides. Just to go over this just a little bit, and I understand it, and I want to make sure that I explain it so that it's understandable. So this is our 2.07. After laying these lines out, cutting a 45-degree angle from this tip right there to that line down there, that's also 2.07. It's an octagon, the line should be equal. Just to double check yourself, this doesn't hurt. And that one right there intersects down it. That's also 2.07. I'm happy with that. Okay, here's our octagon that we've cut. This material's gone. It's gone down to this point, which is supporting our turning right now, and we're going to turn this down one more time. But I can put one more line on here, and I can put it on accurately, and that's going to be, instead of this 45, it's 22.5 degrees. So I can work out the dimensions to put a line on there that will be tangent to the diameter, and I can accurately mark it and cut it. So in order to do that, I've come up with a formula based off of this chord length that will give me where to mark to create that. So the number I came up with is 0.26 times the chord length, and that will give me another number to put on here, and that number is 0.53. So if I go from this corner this direction back 0.53, and I do it this direction, this will give me that straight line that's tangent. So I'm going to set this up and go over to the piece where I have it marked. Okay, I think you can see these lines. So here's the chord length. This is what created the 45 degree, which made an octagon. So by coming back this way 0.53 and coming down this direction 0.53, and when I flatten out in between there, I'll be tangent to that 5-inch diameter as well. I have it marked here, I have it marked here, and I have it marked right over here. But in order to know where to go down here, I have measured across this flat. That dimension is 0.99, so that means this diameter is going to be 0.99, and that's the last that we'll be cutting on the diameters here. But if I connect from here down to the intersection of this wall and this diameter, which I have already cut on with my parting tool, I use the caliper and I cut that at 9.9. And then we're ready to cut these flats. I'm going to just do all of this and I'll come back and we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of coming up with that perfect sphere. Alright, here we are. It now has 16 sides. A 16-sided polygon is called a hexagon. So that's what we've created. And you can see it's really getting close to being round. Now the next thing to do is soften these corners here. Something else I like to do is make templates to help me get these corners knocked off and get it fully round. So I've made, this is a 5-inch, and that one's also a 5-inch. I actually made it full size and then cut it. You can see by looking down here right now, before I've even knocked those little corners off, it's pretty close, pretty close. The thing I like to do is I take a a black crayon, and I mark this, and it will transfer to the high spots here. You see how that corner just got darker. Then I just use my skew here, and I start softening these corners. So where I see that black, I'm going to take that one away, and then I'll rub it on here again. I got to come down and get this one, and just keep checking it. This one here I haven't touched. That's pretty much all it takes, and the next thing you know, it will be round. Let me take care of this side, and then we'll come back and switch to here. Alright, a little bit closer. If you don't have access to saw and sand this out, or won't have the equipment, you can do it with a piece of cardboard and cut it with scissors. Cut it right on the line. You're not going to be able to hold it while it's turning, but you can stop and check it. That's starting to look pretty good. And actually at this point in time, the way we're going to get it is we're going to switch it on its axis and turn both ways, and that's where you can really finalize and bring everything into a good round. I could almost sand this right now and it would feel great. So I'm going to work on this one a little bit more, and we'll come back and do that. Another thing I wanted to mention, I'll show you, this is how I do it. I don't recommend this to do this. This is how I do it. But when I put it up in here, I want to make sure I have my tool rest supporting it. And I'm transferring those marks on there. I don't suggest that you do that if you've never done it before, especially. And even at that, anything I do here is how I do things. It's not telling anyone how they should do it. This is just how I do it. If you want to get those marks on there, you can just put it on here and do that. See how they transferred? And I do both ways. This is a good way to do it too. It's telling me that's a little bit high right there, and right here, and over there. Okay, I'm going to take it out. The last thing you want to do before you take it out, and you just need to kind of look at where the center is, because I just touched that center line away that I had. I can see part of it. You want to make it darker. You're going to need to see that in the next operation. Alright, so this was just a scrap of wood that I had. I already had a tenon on it. And I cut a cup into it. Just a little bowl shape. And I cut it so that ball would go in there and center itself. Tailstock end, I have a cup cut in here, and this is on a threaded shaft that I've had for quite a while with bearings in it. So that will be my tailstock support. I'm going to get that in. This pencil line that we put on, now we take that pencil line up and we try to line it up as close as we can down the axis of the lathe here. Make sure you have some pressure on it. And now let's see. There it is. And when you look at it this way, you can see how out around it might be. And it's really not very much. I probably could sand that. What we have is the nubs that I sawed off here. First thing I want to do is cut those off. And let's just use this bowl gouge to get those. Spending that about 1,000. Do a little bit more here, rotate it one more time. Alright, I like to sand this in reverse for now. Slow it down. I sanded it up to 500, wiped it down, and I'm going to put a Howard Feeding wax on it just because it's really nice and it's quick. And I have to rotate this in here to get all the finish on it. So anything else would just take too long. Here's the finished ball out of Redwood. It's nice and smooth, nice and round. It's a lot of fun to do. I've done a few of these. I have another one here I'll show you. This one here is, I call it a tornado ball. It's glued up of segments that are rotated and get you a nice interesting shape. If you are inspired to make a round ball, start with a plain one. Do a couple of them, get a feel for it, and go ahead and try something like this. If you know how to do segments, you can easily make a ball that looks like this. There's really no magic involved in it. Let me put these two together. I'll set them up and you can see them. So they're fun to do. And really not all that hard. I hope I explained the process so that you could understand how I do it. It's not really complicated at all. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer those questions. And I also want to thank everyone for watching this video. I want to thank my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed and you're interested in my work, please subscribe. Thank you very much again, and until the next time, I'll see you later.